Now that Portugal has changed the naturalization requirements for Portuguese citizenship from 5 years all the way to 10 years for most people, specifically golden visa investors, and to get a golden visa, it takes 3 to 4 years anyway. We're talking about 15 years to get a Portuguese passport. A lot of people that have invested into Portugal and are currently in the backlog, or were thinking of investing into Portugal, are looking for other options. And Italy, with the Italian golden visa, could actually be one of those options. Although it does not lead to citizenship without actually living in Italy, it could be really good from a tax perspective. And if you actually live in Italy and are a tax resident of Italy, you're gonna get the citizenship anyway in 10 years. So it's gonna be faster than the Portugal one. Obviously, you will need to live 6 months per year, but that is more of a personal decision while having a nice tax benefit. First off, for the requirements of the Italian golden visa, it's 250,000 euros invested into an innovative startup. Be very careful because it is higher risk. You can make the investment with as little risk as possible into some startups and some companies, but the risk is obviously going to be higher than the other option, which is 500,000 euros into Italian shares and Italian companies, which is going to be a lot more safe. It's the same investment as you would have in Portugal. 500,000 euros into a fund, here 500,000 euros into Italian companies. You can also donate 1 million euros to culture, education, ecology, R&D, arts, and heritage. Probably not the best option for most people unless you're worth 100 million euros and you want to donate 1 million, get your golden visa, live in Italy with a great tax incentive as well that we'll touch on in a minute. Or the other option, you can invest 2 million euros into government bonds. Apart from getting your golden visa, which is a quick process, around 90 days, sometimes even less, to get your golden visa, you can also get a solid tax incentive. Italy has a flat tax program, 200,000 euros. Essentially, you give the government 200,000 euros in taxes. It might increase to 300,000 euros. It increased from 100 to 200. Maybe when you're watching this, it's already 300 or maybe 400. They can't increase it forever. But there is a lot of interest, specifically from Canadians, from British people that want to move to Italy. They want to pay a flat tax and they don't care about any of your income abroad. They don't care about your companies. You don't need to report anything. You don't need to tell them where you have your properties. That is beautiful for somebody that is worth $20 million, for somebody that makes millions of euros per year. I pay them 200 grand, they're gonna leave me alone. I love flat taxes. You pay 100 grand, 200 grand, they leave you alone, they don't investigate you, they don't do an inspection on you, on your companies, where you're a resident. No, you pay the money and done deal, and you can claim Italy as your tax residency. So for example, a Spaniard that is paying millions of euros in taxes in Spain can just go to Italy, have your residency in Italy and tax residency, actually live in Italy, pay them 200,000 euros in tax per year, and that's it. They don't check into anything else. It is a beautiful tax program. Obviously, Italy has a lot of problems. Immigration, crime, a lot of illegals coming into Italy, government mismanagement, and so on. But I think this program works really well, specifically for people that actually want to relocate to Italy, that maybe they want to get citizenship in 10 years, and even for people that want to have a solid golden visa without the crazy backlog of Portugal, and maybe you don't even care about citizenship. Maybe you're not going to learn Italian, you're just going to have it as a way to access the Schengen area without having to go through ETIAS, without having to worry about the 90 out of every 180-day requirement. You just want to have it for your travel freedom. This works out pretty well, and in my opinion, is better than Portugal because you don't have the crazy 3 to 4 year backlog. So a lot of people that invested into Portugal are going to take those 500,000 and put it into Italy and then get their Italian golden visa in 3 months. That's exactly what's going to happen over the next couple of months. And even people that were thinking of going to Portugal, they're going to go to Italy because it is more familiar of a country than Hungary, for example. Hungary has a golden visa as well, 250,000 euros into a fund, but a lot of people, specifically Americans, for example, or Canadians or Latin Americans, they don't really trust the Eastern countries in Europe. I want to be careful how I say it because I know Poland, Hungary, and these countries, they want to be called Central Europe, not Eastern Europe, but let's say the eastern part of the European Union. They don't really trust these countries. Ooh, I'm not going to put €250,000 into Hungary. I prefer putting it into Italy. Yeah, Italy's familiar. I've been there a bunch of times. I speak a little bit of Italian. My great-great-great-great-grandparent comes from Italy. I'm gonna do that better. And maybe you have a personal connection. A lot of people were able to get Italian citizenship by descent. Now the generational limit has been cut off, so a lot of people have been cut off from the possibility of Italian citizenship. Maybe it's just a personal preference because your great-great-grandparents come from Italy and you feel more comfortable investing into Italy, actually living in Italy and getting a passport anyway by living there 10 years. Now, same as Portugal, you do get permanent residency after 5 years, but you do actually have to live in Italy in order to get permanent residency. The same thing was in Spain. Spain canceled the golden visa, but you could get permanent residency by actually living in Spain, which means you pay Spanish taxes, and Spain doesn't have a flat tax, and their Beckham law is kind of a tricky subject. I would personally prefer Italy from a tax perspective and actually spending 6 months and becoming a tax resident over Spain in this case. Portugal, because you don't need to live there, is a lot more attractive for somebody that wants to get permanent residency without actually having to be 6 months in a country. But Malta offers that to that market. So I really think Portugal is gonna suffer because if somebody wants permanent residency quickly, they can go to Malta, donate, rent an apartment, spend 160,000 euros, let's say, get permanent residency really quickly. And if they don't care about the permanent residency, they actually want to relocate somewhere with low taxes, they can go to Italy. Obviously for US citizens, if you're an American, the flat tax in Italy has nothing to do with your IRS obligations. You still need to tell the IRS everything you have. You still need to pay US taxes. You still need to have all of the requirements that the US has on US citizens. That is why I renounced my US citizenship. You could, in most cases, claim the 200,000 euros that you paid to Italy as a deduction from your US taxes, but obviously talk to a US tax lawyer, US accountant before you do anything. Italy also works out from a lifestyle perspective, so it's not just about, oh, they're not gonna touch my crypto abroad or my properties abroad, I'm gonna pay that lump sum tax. It's also about a lifestyle. So you can have the northern Italy lifestyle. That's personally my favorite. I absolutely love Como, I love the Italian Alps, I love the Dolomites. The northern part of Italy, for me, is the most beautiful. You also have Sardinia. Sardinia, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in all of Europe. The beaches are incredible. If you want to have sun with a beautiful Caribbean-style beach, super blue water, Sardinia offers you that. Obviously, you have Rome, cosmopolitan city, people from all over the world. You have Sicily as well. The food is incredible. I absolutely love Italian food. So it provides a lot of benefits from a lifestyle perspective that something like Latvia couldn't provide. Because Latvia is more of, I'm just investing, I'm just buying an apartment, I'm just getting a company just to get my golden visa. The winter is terrible. It's a smaller country, so there's not that many expats as well. It's harder to make friends there. Versus Italy combines, you get your golden visa, you make your investment, you don't have a backlog, you have a good tax program, you also have the lifestyle perspective, maybe you have a personal connection. So I think this program has been extremely successful so far. That's why they're raising the flat tax constantly and is going to continue to attract many millionaires from all over the world. Now, for the downsides of Italy, it's obviously part of the European Union. So anything the EU says, Italy is going to do, especially because they use the euro as well. So the digital euro, you're probably going to use it as a resident of Italy. And all your information is probably going to be connected. Let's say you want to use an AI tool. I was actually in Italy very recently for a conference, and ChatGPT asked me to upload an ID to my account because it noticed that I'm using it from Italy. So I have to upload an ID, and they're going to know everything I talk to ChatGPT about and all the questions I ask and all the documents that I send it. They're going to know that that's me personally. And they're going to be able to track where you spend your money, what things you buy, what things you like, where you travel as well. So for people that like privacy and like these countries, like for example, Serbia, outside of the European Union, they like Paraguay, Italy might not be the best choice because of this agenda to control everything you do, to have the digital ID to track you everywhere, control where you spend your money, have controls all over your life. That would obviously be a major downside, on top of the rising crime, the rising illegal immigration, the rising home invasions as well. Some places in Italy are not taken care of at all. Fertility rate is also very low, so there's a lot of towns that are just disappearing and people leaving the towns, and it's quite depressive in those areas. So it has its upsides, and it also has its massive downsides. If you're a high net worth individual and you want to see where my wealthiest clients, ultra high net worth individuals, are going, check out this video right here on the countries they are choosing to protect their future, finances, freedom, and family. Check it out right here.